Tonight we embark on a journey that challenges the very foundation of how you perceive reality. The subject is living in the end. I dare say that everyone listening to this voice right now would instinctively agree with the ancient statement that with God all things are possible. I do not think you would be here dedicating your valuable time to this message if you did not believe in a higher power or a supreme creative force. We acknowledge that there is a God to whom all things are possible. However, this is usually where the tragedy of human limitation begins. We stop right there at that acknowledgement and we commit a fundamental error in judgment. We separate man from God. We look up at the sky or look back into history to find the Creator, leaving ourselves helpless and small in the present moment. My purpose right now is to show you that we are not two separate beings. We are one. The ultimate truth that has been hidden from the masses for centuries is that God actually became man so that man may become God. This is not blasphemy, but the ultimate destiny of your soul. To understand this, we must look at the nature of creation itself. We are told in the great texts that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. For generations, people have looked for this creative Word as a historical figure or a force outside of themselves. But this interpretation is based on a fatal mistranslation. The original definition of the preposition used in those ancient manuscripts does not mean among, as if the creative power is merely a neighbor walking beside you. The true translation is within. The Word became flesh and dwelt in us. This changes everything. It means that the creative power of the universe did not take upon itself some single person in history to the exclusion of others. It did not choose one man to be the habitation of the divine. Instead, it chose the human race. It chose you. That same creative Word that conceived the galaxies and sustains the universe dwells in you right now as you listen to this. Therefore, if it is true that with God all things are possible, and if this God dwells within you, then it must follow as a mathematical certainty that with you all things are possible. This brings us to the most practical question you will ever ask. What is this creative Word? What is this power that lives in you? It is not a magical light or a mysterious energy you have to buy. It is your own wonderful human imagination. That is the divine presence in man. Man is all imagination, and God is man and exists in us, and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is the creative power itself. When you say, I am, you are declaring the presence of this power. You do not need to look for it in a temple or a mountain. The moment you are conscious of being, you are exercising this divine gift. The problem is not that we lack this power. The problem is that we do not know who we are. We have forgotten our identity. We treat imagination as something childish, a tool for daydreaming or escaping reality. We do not realize that imagination is the reality. It is the rock upon which your entire world is built. Everything you see around you, the clothes you wear, the chair you sit on, the building that shelters you, was once only an image in the mind of man. It was invisible before it became visible. Imagination is the womb of the universe. So I ask you a question that cuts to the core of your existence. Can you believe that you are now the person you would like to be? I know that at the moment of your assumption, your reason will deny it. Your logical mind will look at your bank account, your health, your relationships, and it will scream that it is not true. Your five senses will deny it. They will tell you that you are poor, or sick, or lonely. But if the creative power of the universe is your imagination, then your senses are not the final authority. Your imagination is the final authority. Can you really conceive a scene which, if it were true, would imply the fulfillment of your dream? Certainly you can. You can close your eyes right now and imagine you are shaking the hand of a business partner congratulating you on your success. You can imagine the weight of a wedding ring on your finger. The capacity to imagine is limitless. The only barrier is whether you have the courage to believe in the reality of the thing imagined. This is the great secret. The world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. Most people live life as a spectator, reacting to what appears on the outside. They see poverty and they feel poor. They see illness and they feel sick. They are slaves to the evidence of their senses. But you are called to be a creator. To be a creator means you must stop being a slave to what you see and start being a master of what you imagine. If I could in this very moment imagine myself into a state, any state at all, and dwell in it, I would begin to change the course of my destiny. Dwelling in it does not mean visiting it for a fleeting second and then returning to worry. Dwelling means making it your home. It means inhabiting the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If I remain in that state, I will resurrect it and objectify it in my world. This is the law. It is not a theory. It is the mechanics of how reality functions. Consider the challenge of living this truth. We are challenged to test ourselves. We are told to come and test this power and see if it is real. This is how I test myself. If the creative power is in me and all things are possible to it, then I must find out who he is. I have found him as my own wonderful human imagination, because this power dwells not only in me but in everyone. Everything is possible to everyone in the world. You help a man best not by giving him bread, but by telling him who he is. You could give a man all the wealth of the world that he needs to solve his problems today, and he will come back for more tomorrow if he thinks he is a victim of circumstance. Unless he knows who the creative power is, he will waste the fortune. But tell him who he is. Tell him that he is the operant power. Tell him that his imagination creates his reality. If he truly grasps this, he needs nothing more than this knowledge and the application of it. We are the operant power. The law does not work itself. You must operate it. I can tell you that your imagination is the creative force, and maybe you will believe me intellectually, but unless you actually take it to the point of working upon it, unless you operate it, it means nothing. If this night I really believe it, I would not allow the sun to go down on my sleep unless I feel myself right into the situation of the wish fulfilled. I would not sleep in the state of lack. I would not sleep in the state of anger. I would sleep in the state of satisfaction. This is crucial because sleep is the doorway to the subconscious. What you carry into sleep, you carry into the creation of your tomorrow. If you sleep in the feeling of failure, you are commanding the universe to create more failure. But if you dare to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled as you drift off, you are commanding the morning to bring you success. This concept leads us directly to the art of living in the end. To live in the end is to bypass the middle. It is to ignore the how and the when. The human mind is obsessed with the steps. We worry about how we will get the money, how we will meet the person, how we will get the promotion. But the creative power within you does not need your help with the how. It has ways and means that you know not of. Your only job is to determine the end. What would it be like if it were true? How would I feel if I were now the man that I would like to be? How would I see the world if things were as I desire them to be? This is the mental stance you must take. It requires a radical shift in perspective. You must stop thinking of the world as something that happens to you, and start seeing it as something that happens through you. When you understand that God and man are one, that the creative power is your own imagination, you realize that there is no one to change but self. You do not need to change your boss. You do not need to change the economy. You do not need to change your spouse. You only need to change your concept of yourself. As you change your concept of yourself, the world, which is nothing more than your concept pushed out, must change to conform to your new nature. This is why we say that the founding fathers of great nations and the captains of industry did not merely believe in the future. They believed the future They appropriated the future into the present moment. They walked as if they were already free. They worked as if they were already successful. They did not wait for the physical evidence to appear before they believed. They believed first, and the evidence followed. This is the reverse of the world's logic. The world says, seeing is believing. I tell you that believing is seeing. So as we prepare to go deeper into the specific techniques of how to live in the end, you must Anchor this truth in your heart. You are not a tiny body struggling in a giant world. You are a vast spirit having a human experience. The power that created the stars is the same power that gives you the ability to form a mental image. Do not treat this lightly. Do not think it is just a philosophical comfort. It is a weapon. It is a tool. It is the key to the prison cell you may have built for yourself. You have the key. The key is your mind. The key is your ability to ignore the facts of life and stand on the foundation of your imagination. Now that we have established who you really are, we must learn how to think. We must learn the difference between thinking of the end and thinking from the end. One leads to frustration. The other leads to fulfillment. This distinction is subtle, but it is the difference between failure and success. Let us now examine how to master this art of thinking from the end. Now that we have established the monumental truth that your imagination is the creative power of God within you, we must confront the primary reason why so many people fail to realize their desires. It is not because they lack the power, it is because they misuse the power through a fundamental error in their direction of thought. This brings us to the most critical distinction in the art of manifestation, which is the difference between thinking of the end and thinking from the end. This distinction is subtle in language, but absolute in its consequences. It is the difference between a daydream that fades into nothing and a reality that hardens into fact. Most of the world spends their entire lives thinking of the things they want. When you think of a goal, you are looking at it from a distance. You are seeing it as something separate from you, something out there in the future, something you hope to reach one day. This very act of thinking of the objective acknowledges that you do not possess it. It reinforces the separation between you and your desire. By the law of consciousness, if you are thinking of it, you are confessing that you are not it. And since you manifest what you are, not what you want, you continue to manifest the state of lacking the very thing you desire. To change your world, you must learn the radical art of thinking from the end. To think from the end is to mentally inhabit the state of the wish fulfilled. It means you stop looking at the destination on a map and you begin looking at the world from the destination itself. Let us make this practical. If you desire a new car, thinking of the car is looking at a brochure or watching it drive by on the street. That is the state of a spectator. But to think from the end, you must close your eyes and mentally sit in the driver's seat. You must feel the texture of the steering wheel in your hands. You must smell the distinct scent of the new leather. You must feel the vibration of the engine as you press the accelerator. When you do this, you are no longer thinking of the car. You are thinking from the car. You are viewing the world through the windshield of that specific vehicle. In that moment, within your imagination, you possess it. You have appropriated the state of ownership. The universe does not know the difference between what you see with your physical eyes and what you vividly experience in your imagination. When you think from the end, you are signaling to the creative power that the transaction is complete, and reality must reshape itself to reflect this inner truth. This concept of thinking from the end was the secret weapon of the great visionaries of history. Consider the founding fathers of great nations or the pioneers of industry. As the poet Robert Frost once illuminated in the Story for Life magazine, these men did not merely believe in the future as a distant possibility. They believed the future in. There is a profound difference. To believe in the future as a concept is passive. To believe it in is an active act of mental appropriation. They were under the rule of a king, yet they mentally lived in a state of freedom and democracy before a single document was signed or a single battle was won. They did not wait for the passage of time to bring them their dream. They collapsed time. They went to the end first. They assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and they looked back at their present moment from that future vantage point. This is the secret. You do not move towards your goal. You move your goal to you by occupying it here and now. The timeline is an illusion to the man who knows how to travel in his imagination. You go to the end. You dwell there. And you let the bridge of incidents build itself back to where you were. However, We must address the great enemy of this practice, which is your reliance on the evidence of the senses. Every morning, you are presented with a choice the moment you open your eyes. You can pick up the morning paper or scroll through your phone and feast upon the horrors of the world. You can look at your bank balance and feel the pang of anxiety. You can look in the mirror and see the symptoms of age or illness. When you do this, you are thinking from the facts of life. And the facts of life are often the prison bars that keep you trapped. If you react to the news, if you react to the lack, you are perpetuating it. You are feeding the unlovely states with your attention. The person who masters the art of living in the end dares to deny the evidence of the senses. This does not mean you are delusional in a clinical sense. It means you are choosing a higher reality. You look at the bank account, and while your eyes see zero, your inner sense feels the relief of abundance. You walk through your day carrying the secret knowledge that you are already the person you want to be. You do not wait for the world to confirm it. You confirm it yourself, and then the world follows. Let us go deeper into the psychology of this shift. Why is it that when we pray or affirm, we often fail? It is because we are praying to a God outside of us to give us something we think we do not have. We are vibrating at the frequency of need when you think from the end. The frequency changes from need to gratitude. You cannot want what you already have. Therefore, the surest sign that you have successfully entered the state of the wish fulfilled is that you no longer feel the desperate hunger for it. You feel a quiet satisfaction. You feel the naturalness of it. If you were truly wealthy right now, you would not be frantically asking for wealth. You would be planning what to do with it. If you were truly happily married, you would not be begging for a partner. You would be thinking about what to cook for dinner for your spouse. To think from the end is to adopt the normal, natural thoughts that a person in that position would have. It is wearing the state like a comfortable old suit. It is not an explosive excitement that comes and goes. It is a steady, grounded knowing. It is the deep conviction that it is done. The challenge I place before you is to become an actor in the divine play of your own life. An actor does not merely recite lines. He becomes the character. He thinks the thoughts of the character. He sees the setting through the eyes of the character. If you want a promotion at work, do not just imagine seeing your name on a new office door. Go inside that office in your mind. Sit in the chair. Look out the window from that specific angle. How do your colleagues speak to you now that you are a manager? How does your family treat you? What are your new responsibilities? Engage in mental conversations with your friends from the premise that you already have the job. Hear them congratulating you and, most importantly, hear yourself replying with humility and gratitude. This inner speech is the most creative force you possess. If your inner conversations contradict your desire, you are neutralizing your power. If you affirm success but internally argue with a phantom opponent or complain about your current boss, you are thinking from the state of victimhood. You must align your inner speech with your wish fulfilled. You must talk to yourself and to others in your imagination as if the dream were already a physical reality. This practice requires a type of mental discipline that very few are willing to cultivate. But the rewards are infinite. It requires you to ignore the current reflection in the mirror of life and remain faithful to the image you are holding in your mind. This is what it means to have faith. Faith is not believing in something that does not exist. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. When you persist in thinking from the end, the outer world may resist for a moment. It may seem to get worse before it gets better. Do not be deceived. The old reality is simply the fading echo of your past thoughts. It is dead wood. Do not give it life by reacting to it. Keep your eyes fixed on the new state. Keep your mind anchored in the end. As you do this, a strange thing will happen. You will find that anxiety vanishes. You will find that you no longer need to force things to happen externally. You will stop trying to manipulate people or events. You will realize that since you have already experienced the reality in your imagination, its physical manifestation is inevitable. It has no choice but to appear. Ultimately, Thinking from the end is an act of surrender. You surrender your little limited self that worries about the how and the when, and you allow the greater self, the God within, to unfold the pattern. You are stepping out of the way. You are moving from the state of effort to the state of allowing. The person who is thinking of the end is always straining, always trying, always fighting. The person who thinks from the end is at peace. They have seen the harvest before the seed has even broken through the soil. They know that the bridge of incidents will appear, and they will walk across it naturally. So tonight, as you consider your greatest desires, do not leave them in the distance. Do not leave them in the someday. Bring them here. Enter them. Occupy them. Make the future now. Make the dream a present fact. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and observe how your entire psychological atmosphere changes. When you change your vantage point, you change your view. And when you change your view, you change your world. This is the law. This is the way. There is no other path to mastery than to discipline the mind to dwell permanently in the end. Before we cross the threshold into the specific mechanics of how to bend reality to your will, we must pause. We must stop the momentum of information gathering and enter the realm of commitment. You have heard the philosophy. You have heard that God and human imagination are one. You have heard the distinction between thinking of the end and thinking from the end. But hearing is not enough. The libraries of the world are filled with books containing the secrets of the ages, yet the people who read them often remain in the same state of desperation and lack. Why is this? It is because they treat this knowledge as entertainment rather than a commandment. They treat it as a philosophical curiosity rather than a law of existence. I am speaking to you now not as a passive listener, but as a sleeping giant who is stirring to wakefulness. The information I am sharing with you is dangerous to your old way of life. If you apply it, you cannot remain the person you were yesterday. The old man must die so that the new man may live. Therefore, this moment right now is a fork in the road. This is why I invite you to make a tangible commitment. If you feel the resonance of truth in these words, if you feel a vibration in your soul that says this is what you have been searching for, then do not let this moment pass. Join this community. Subscribe to this channel, not merely to boost a number on a screen, but to make a pact with yourself. By subscribing, you are signaling to your own subconscious mind that you are dedicating yourself to this path. You are saying that you are finished with the role of the victim, and you are ready to assume the role of the creator. We are building a sanctuary here, a digital gathering of minds that are focused on high purposes. There is immense power in the collective focus. When you surround yourself with these teachings, you insulate yourself against the negativity of the world. You need a daily reminder because the world is a loud and chaotic place that will try to drag you back into the slumber of the average life. Consider this channel your daily bread, your reminder of who you really are. Share this message with those who are ready, for in lifting others up, we lift ourselves. But know this path is for the brave. It is for those who are willing to take full responsibility for their lives. Now, let us prepare the soil of your mind. You cannot plant the seed of a new reality in a garden that is choked with the weeds of the past. Before we discuss the technique of the bridge of incidents, we must perform a cleansing of the mental atmosphere. Most people approach the creative act with a mind that is cluttered, anxious, and filled with the debris of yesterday's failures. They try to imagine success while holding on to a deep-seated feeling of unworthiness. This is like trying to drive a car with the parking brake fully engaged. You will create nothing but smoke and friction. You must release the parking brake. You must let go of the old story. I want you to understand that your past does not exist. It is a memory trace. It has no life unless you give it life with your present attention. The failures of yesterday, the heartbreaks of last year, the financial struggles of the last decade are dead. They are ashes. Do not carry the ashes into this holy moment. You must forgive yourself completely. You must forgive every person who has ever wronged you. not because they deserve it, but because you cannot drag the heavy burden of resentment up the mountain of manifestation. Resentment ties you to the level of the problem. Forgiveness frees you to rise to the level of the solution. We must also address the addiction to the senses. We live in an age of overstimulation. From the moment you wake up, you are bombarded with news of disaster, economic collapse, conflict, and disease. If you allow this sewage to flow into your mind, you are poisoning your imagination. You are taking the previous creative power of God and using it to construct monsters. You must go on a mental diet, just as you would not eat food from a trash can. You must not feed your mind with the trash of the world. For the duration of this work, I ask you to become a guardian at the gate of your consciousness. Be selective. Be discriminating. If a conversation does not align with the noble life you wish to live, withdraw your attention from it. If a news report induces fear, turn it off. You are preparing to do the work of a master, and a master keeps his tools clean. Your mind is your tool. Keep it sharp. Keep it clear. Keep it focused on the lovely and the good. There is a concept I want you to grasp before we move to the technique. It is the concept of radical responsibility. This is the hardest pill to swallow, but it is the medicine that cures all ills. You must accept that you are the sole cause of your present reality. There is no one to blame, not your parents, not the government, not the economy, not your enemies. Everything in your world is your own consciousness pushed out. This sounds harsh, but it is actually the most liberating truth you will ever hear. Because if you are the cause of the mess, you are also the cure. If someone else caused your misery, you would be helpless until they changed. But because you caused it, you can change it instantly by changing yourself. This removes the victim mentality forever. You stand here today, naked before the law, with the power to rewrite the script of your life. Do not look for a savior outside of yourself. You are the operant power. You are the hero of this story. So, how do we enter the state of creation? We must cultivate the ability to silence the noise. We must learn to shut the door of the senses. When the Bible tells you to go into your closet and pray to your Father who is in secret, it is not speaking of a physical closet. It is speaking of the closet of the mind. It means shutting out the impressions of the physical world. It means withdrawing your attention from what your eyes see and what your ears hear, and focusing entirely on what you want to experience within. This requires practice. It requires you to be able to sit in a chair and for a few moments deny the existence of the room around you, to deny the existence of the debt, to deny the existence of the pain, and to enter the silence where only you and your imagination exist. This silence is the womb of creation. It is in this silence that the seed is planted. If you plant the seed in the middle of a storm, it will be washed away. You must calm the storm first. I want you to take a moment right now, wherever you are, to check your emotional state. Are you carrying tension in your shoulders? Are you holding your breath? Are you clenching your jaw? These are physical manifestations of resistance. You cannot force a manifestation. Force negates. Effort is the enemy of this work. We are not trying to move a physical mountain with a shovel. We are trying to dissolve the mountain with a thought. Therefore, the state we are seeking is one of drowsy relaxation. It is a state akin to sleep. It is that magical twilight zone between being awake and being asleep, where the conscious mind relaxes its guard and the subconscious mind opens its door to receive the impression. You must learn to induce this state at will. It is not about laziness. It is about passivity of the body and activity of the mind. Your body must be immobilized, but your imagination must be alert. Prepare yourself now. We are about to walk across the bridge. We are about to discuss the specific step-by-step method that I have taught to thousands of people who have used it to climb from poverty to wealth, from sickness to health, from loneliness to love. But this technique will only work if you approach it with the reverence it deserves. Do not try it to see if it works. That is the attitude of the skeptic. And the skeptic always finds failure because he is looking for it. Try it because you know it works. Approach it with the confidence of a child who knows his father will give him what he asks for. The universe is not reluctant to give you your desire. It is rushing towards you, waiting for you to open the door. The door is your mind. The key is your feeling. So, shake off the dust of the day. Put aside your logical arguments. Tell your reason to be quiet for a moment. You are about to engage in a divine transaction. You are about to rewrite history before it happens. Are you ready? Are you willing to give up the comfort of your misery for the challenge of your greatness? If the answer is yes, then let us proceed. Let us unlock the specific method of the bridge of incidents and the technique of living in the end. Open your mind, open your heart, and let the transformation begin. We have prepared the mind and we have committed to the path. Now we must address the mechanism of creation itself. The most common question that arises when one first encounters this law is the question of the means. You ask yourself that if you simply imagine a state, how on earth will it come to pass physically? Do you have to labor for it? Do you have to manipulate others? Do you have to force doors open? The answer is a resounding no. The moment you accept the end, you remain totally ignorant of the means. This is the hardest discipline for the logical mind to accept, because we are trained to analyze the how. We are trained to plan every step, but in the world of the spirit, the end dictates the means. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you unleash a series of events that I call the bridge of incidents. This bridge is not something you build consciously. It is something you walk across. It is a series of events that will assemble themselves in a way that may seem natural, perhaps even coincidental, but they are mathematically inevitable based on your imaginal act. You must understand that you are the operant power, but the deeper self, the dimension of you that is God, has ways and means that your conscious surface mind knows nothing of. If you try to dictate the how, you are limiting the creative power to your own understanding. You are blocking the flow. The bridge of incidents is the way the universe reshuffles itself to accommodate your new assumption. Sometimes this bridge is paved with gold, but other times it may look like disaster to the uninitiated eye. I have seen this time and again. A man assumes he has a better job, a position of great authority and wealth. 2 days later, he is fired from his current position. The old man in him panics. He thinks the law has failed him. He thinks he is being punished. But he is not looking with the eye of faith. He does not see that this firing was the necessary first step to loosen him from a place that was too small for his new giant dream. He had to be removed from the limitation to be placed in the expansion. If he remains faithful to the end, that firing becomes the catalyst that pushes him toward a chance meeting, which leads to an interview, which leads to the position he imagined. The bridge of incidents is constructed by a wisdom higher than your own, and your only duty is to walk across it with faith, not judging appearances. Let us ground this high philosophy in a concrete reality. I want to share with you a story from my own family circle, a story that proves the power of the law beyond any shadow of a doubt. This concerns my brother, Victor. This is not hearsay. This is a fact of my family's history. We grew up in a large family with very little means. There was a time when the family wanted to purchase a specific building to expand our business. The building was owned by a prominent family who, for reasons of their own, held a deep animosity toward us. They disliked my father, and they made it very clear that they would never sell any property to the Goddard family. Furthermore, the price was significant, and we did not have the capital. Logically, the situation was impossible. We had no money, and the owners refused to sell to us specifically. A rational man would have looked at the facts and walked away. But Victor did not operate by the logic of the world. He operated by the logic of the imagination. He knew that if he could mentally appropriate that building, the facts of the world would have to change. He did not go out and try to borrow money. He did not try to beg the owners. He went to work in his own mind, every single day. As he walked past that building, he would look at the marquee. In the physical world, the marquee bore the name of the current owners, but in his mind's eye, Victor erased that name. He mentally saw the name of our family, Goddard and Sons, written in bold letters across the front of the building. He did not just see it as a flat picture, he saw it as a reality. He would stand there and feel the sense of ownership. He would imagine he was looking at his own property. He did this every day, twice a day, for 2 years. He remained faithful to that vision even when the physical sign remained unchanged month after month. He did not waver. He lived in the end. Then came the bridge of incidents. It happened in a way that no one could have predicted. A total stranger came into our modest shop one day. He was a man we had never met, a man with no connection to us. He struck up a conversation with Victor and, out of the blue, he asked about the building. He said he had been watching Victor and he admired his work ethic and the honesty of our family. Then he made a proposal that sounded like a fairy tale. He said he had money sitting in the bank doing nothing. He offered to buy the building for us. He knew the owners would not sell to us. So he proposed that he would have his lawyer buy it on his behalf. So the owners would not know the true buyer. Then he would transfer it to us. Victor told him the truth that we had no collateral, nothing to secure such a loan. The man smiled and said he did not need collateral. He only needed Victor's signature and his word. He offered a loan where we would simply pay 6% interest and pay down the principal over 10 years. That day, we owned the building. The owners sold it thinking they were selling to a third party, never knowing they were fulfilling the imaginal act of the very man they refused to do business with. We did not put down a single penny of our own money. We signed a piece of paper, and the reality that Victor had seen for 2 years hardened into fact. The name Goddard and Sons went up on the marquee, exactly as he had visualized. But the story does not end there. That building, purchased for $50,000, was paid off in 10 years, just as agreed. Decades later, that same property was sold for $840,000 with no capital gains tax due to the laws of that time. From nothing but an image in the mind, a fortune was created. Analyze this with me. What was the cause of this wealth? Was it the stranger? No. The stranger was merely an instrument, a puppet moved by the power of Victor's imagination. Was it luck? No. It was the law. If Victor had not spent those 2 years impregnating his subconscious with the reality of ownership, that stranger would never have walked in. The bridge of incidents appeared because the end had been established. Victor did not know how it would happen. He could not have devised a plan where a stranger would appear with a bag of money. That was the ways and means you know not of. Victor's job was simply to sustain the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The universe's job was to find the man, bring him to the shop, and inspire him to make the offer. This is the power you possess. You are likely sitting there thinking that your problem is unique, that your debt is too big, or your illness is too advanced. I tell you that you are deceiving yourself. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. The same power that moved a stranger to buy a building for a penniless young man is the same power that can dissolve your debt or heal your body. The process is identical. You must dare to assume the end. You must stop looking at the obstacles. Victor did not look at the animosity of the owners or the emptiness of his bank account. He looked only at the name on the marquee. He focused entirely on the solution, never on the problem. When you apply this tonight, you must be prepared for the bridge of incidents to open. Do not be surprised if things shift rapidly. Do not be surprised if you get a phone call from someone you haven't heard from in years. Do not be surprised if you lose something only to gain something better. You must walk this bridge with absolute trust. Do not give causation to the physical steps. Do not say, I got the job because I knew the manager. No. You got the job because you imagined you had the job. The knowing of the manager was just the bridge. If you did not know the manager, the bridge would have been different. Perhaps you would have met someone in an elevator, The means are infinite. The end is the only thing that matters. So, here is your technique. Tonight, identify the marquee in your own life. What is the sign that implies you have arrived? Is it a contract with your name on it? Is it a doctor's report that says clean bill of health? Is it a joyful conversation with a loved one? Construct that scene. Make it short. Make it imply that the work is done. And then reenact it in your imagination until it has the tones of reality. Do not be a spectator. Be the actor. Step into the scene. Touch the paper. Hear the voice. Shake the hand. Do it over and over until you feel a sense of relief, a sense that it is finished. And then let it go. Let the bridge of incidents appear. Do not look for it. Do not watch the pot to see if it is boiling. Go about your Father's business. Live your life. The bridge will appear under your feet as you walk, and you will be carried across to the fulfillment of your dream. This is how the law works. This is how the impossible becomes the inevitable. We have explored the visual aspect of the law, where we see the marquee or the contract, but I know that for many of you, the ability to visualize images clearly is a struggle. You close your eyes and you see only darkness. You try to conjure a face and it blurs. Do not despair, for I am about to give you a key that is just as powerful, if not more so, than the visual image. This is the power of inner talking. We must understand that imagination is not limited to the sense of sight. It involves all the senses. And the sense of sound is a vibration that cuts through the barriers of the conscious mind with astonishing speed. You are always talking to yourself. From the moment you wake until the moment you drift into sleep, there is a constant monologue running in the background of your mind. This inner speech is the invisible cause of the visible world. It is the hammer that shapes the reality of your life. The problem is that most of man's inner speech is negative, argumentative, and self-defeating. We carry on mental arguments with our bosses. We justify our failures to imaginary critics, and we replay past hurts. This unbridled inner speech is what perpetuates the unwanted conditions of our lives. To master the art of living in the end, you must take control of this inner conversation. You must make your inner speech match your fulfilled desire. Scripture tells us that faith comes by hearing, and this is a literal psychological truth. What are you hearing in the silence of your own mind? If you are financially struggling, are you hearing the voice of your creditors? Or can you hear the voice of your bank manager congratulating you on your growing account? You must learn to listen to the unseen. You have the ability to call up any voice in the world and hear it as distinctly as if that person was standing next to you. You can hear the voice of your mother, your father, a friend, or a lover. You know the tone, the inflection, the unique melody of their speech. Use this. It is a tool of creation. Let us try a simple experiment right now to prove that you possess this power. You may say you cannot visualize, but I ask you, can you hear a piece of music in your mind? Can you, right now, imagine that you are hearing the battle hymn of the Republic? Listen for it. Can you hear the drum beat? Can you hear the swelling of the chorus? Can you hear that solitary, soulful voice rising above the organ? You do not need a radio. You have an orchestra within you. If you can hear a melody that is not physically playing, you can hear a sentence that has not yet been physically spoken. And if you persist in hearing that sentence, it must manifest. This technique is particularly powerful for those who find it hard to believe in their own worthiness, because it allows you to use a proxy. You can use the voice of another person to confirm your new reality. This leads me to a profound example of how this law can be used not only for oneself, but to save another. There was a friend of mine living in Los Angeles who found himself in a desperate situation. He worked in a high-pressure corporate environment, and he had been mercilessly berated by his superiors. They told him he was incompetent, that his work was of no value, and that they were considering letting him go. He was a man with a family to support and no savings. He came to me in a state of absolute panic. He told me that he was going to quit before they fired him, just to save his dignity. He wanted to run away. He was vibrating with the energy of failure. I told him that he could not afford to quit in that state of mind. If he left that job feeling like a failure, he would carry that failure into the next job and the next. He had to redeem the situation. I told him to go home and do nothing physically. He was not to write a resignation letter. He was not to argue with his boss. Instead, he was to sit quietly and rewrite the script of the day. I told him to hear the voice of his superior, the very man who had insulted him. But this time he was to hear a new script. He was to hear that man praising him. He was to hear the boss saying that he had never seen such excellent work and that he was a valuable asset to the company. My friend went home and applied this faithfully. He sat in his chair, closed his eyes, and induced the state akin to sleep. Then he brought up the mental image of his boss. But more importantly, he listened. He heard the voice that had been so cruel only hours before. But now he made that voice speak words of kindness and respect. He replayed this auditory scene over and over until he felt the relief of it. He felt the tension leave his body. He did this for 3 days. On the 4th day, he went back to the office. The atmosphere had shifted completely. The same superior called him in, not to fire him, but to commend him on a project he had done previously. The attitude of the entire management team had reversed. They treated him with a new respect. But the story gets better. Because he had changed his inner vibration, he had outgrown that limited environment. A week later, he received an offer from a competitor. They offered him a position with greater responsibility and a 25% increase in salary. He accepted the new job, but he left the old one with his head held high, having transformed an enemy into a friend within his own mind. This is the magic of auditory imagination. My friend did not have to beg for the job. He did not have to fight. He simply changed the record playing in his mind. You must realize that everyone is you pushed out. When you argue with someone in your mind, you are sending a telepathic command to them to argue with you in the flesh. When you hear them loving you in your mind, you compel them to witness that love in the world. You are the conductor of the symphony of your life. If you do not like the music being played, do not yell at the musicians. Change the score. The score is written in your inner conversations. I urge you to use this method to help others. This is the noblest use of the law. If you know someone who is unemployed, do not join them in their sorrow. Do not sit and commiserate about how hard the economy is. That only digs their grave deeper. Instead, lift them up. In your imagination, hear them tell you the good news. Hear the ring of your telephone. Imagine you pick it up and hear their excited voice on the other end. Hear them say, "I got the job. It is amazing. I am so happy." Hear your own voice replying, "I knew it. I am so proud of you." Construct this dialogue with all the sensory vividness of reality. Make it real. Feel the joy of their success. When you do this, you are actually using your creative power to open a door for them. You are investing God's energy into their life. And the beautiful truth is that the good you imagine for another must return to you. As you sow, so shall you reap. You cannot light a path for another without brightening your own way. So tonight, I want you to become very sensitive to your inner hearing. Catch yourself when you are sliding into a negative inner dialogue. Stop the mental argument immediately. It is a waste of your divine substance. Replace it instantly with the voice of the wish fulfilled. If you are lonely, hear a voice whispering, "I love you," before you go to sleep. If you are sick, hear the doctor saying, "It is a miracle. You are perfectly whole." Do not worry if you cannot see the face of the speaker. The voice is enough. The vibration of the sound is enough to impregnate the subconscious mind. Remember that in the beginning was the Word. Sound is the primal creative force. Your inner speech is the Word of God moving through you. Do not speak words of weakness. Do not speak words of failure. Speak only the words that you want to see hardened into fact. This practice requires vigilance. You must be a watchman at the gate of your ears, but the rewards are beyond measure. When you master your inner speech, you master your life. You will walk through the world with a quiet confidence, knowing that you have already set the events of tomorrow in motion by the conversations you held in the silence of tonight. You will no longer be a victim of what people say to you, because you will know that they are only echoing what you have whispered to yourself. So speak to yourself lovingly. Speak to yourself grandly. Speak to yourself as the God that you are. Now, as we prepare to move into the final practice, I want you to start listening. Listen not to the noises of the room, but to the silence within. And in that silence, prepare to hear the new song of your life. We have arrived at the summit of our journey. We have explored the philosophy. We have accepted the responsibility. And we have learned the techniques of the bridge of incidence and inner speech. But all of this knowledge remains mere theory until it is tested in the laboratory of your own consciousness. Now we must cease the intellectual struggle. We must put aside the books and the arguments. We must enter the silence. I am going to guide you through the specific method of entering the state of the wish fulfilled. This is not a passive listening experience. This is an active engagement with your own divine power. I ask you now to prepare yourself for a transaction with the infinite. This is the moment where the seed is planted. This is the moment where the future is born. I want you to find a place where you will not be disturbed. This technique requires the complete withdrawal of your attention from the physical world. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot focus on the outer world of facts and the inner world of truth simultaneously. So, sit in a comfortable chair where your head is supported, or lie flat on your back on a bed or a sofa. The position matters less than the state of your body. You must ensure that you are comfortable enough to forget your body, but not so comfortable that you immediately fall into a dreamless sleep before the work is done. We are seeking a very specific psychological state, which I call the state akin to sleep. It is a state of drowsiness, a state of controlled reverie, where the conscious mind is relaxed and the gate to the subconscious is wide open. Now, close your eyes. I want you to take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with air, and then exhale slowly, releasing all the tension of the day. Do this again. With every breath out, feel the anchors that tie you to this physical world loosening. Let go of the tightness in your shoulders. Let go of the clenching in your jaw. Let your hands rest loosely by your side. You are beginning to float. You are disconnecting your five senses from the room around you. The noises of the world are receding into the background. You are turning your attention inward. You are entering the secret chamber of your own being. In this space, there is no time, there is no space. There is only the eternal. Now, in this silence, I want you to define your objective. You must know what you want. The creative power cannot work with a vague desire. It needs a blueprint. Do not say, I want to be happy or I want to be rich. Those are abstractions. Be specific. What would it imply if you were happy? What would it imply if you were wealthy? Select a specific desire. Is it a promotion? Is it a marriage? Is it the healing of a body? Choose one thing. Focus your energy like a laser beam. Do not scatter your force. Bring that single desire before your mind's eye now. Now comes the crucial step. We are not going to think of this desire. We are going to think from it. We are going to construct a short, simple scene that implies the desire is already fulfilled. Note the word implies. We are not visualizing the process. We are visualizing the aftermath. We are going to perform an action within the imagination that we would physically do only after our wish had been realized. Let us construct this scene together. If your desire is a promotion, the scene might be a handshake with your boss. If your desire is a new home, the scene might be the turning of a key in the front door. If your desire is a reconciliation with a friend, the scene might be a hug. Keep the action simple. Do not construct a long movie. Construct a single short act. Now, I want you to step into that scene. Do not watch yourself doing it from a distance like you are watching a screen. You are the actor. You are inside the body. If you are shaking a hand, I want you to feel the hand. Use your imaginary hand. Reach out right now in your mind. Can you feel the texture of the skin? Is the hand warm? Is the grip firm? This is not a visual exercise. It is a tactile one. The sense of touch is the keenest test of reality. Make it solid. Make it real. If you are turning a key in a door, feel the cold metal of the key. Feel the resistance of the lock as you turn it. Hear the click of the tumbler. That sound is important. Remember the power of inner hearing. Incorporate sound into your scene. Hear the voice of your boss saying, "Congratulations." Hear the voice of your partner saying, "I love our new home." Hear it with all the clarity of reality. Give it the tones of truth. Now, perform this action. Shake the hand. Turn the key. Hug the friend. And then do it again. And again, loop the action. Go back to the beginning and repeat it. Do not wander off into other scenes. Restrict the action by repeating it. You are driving the impression deeper and deeper into the subconscious mind. You are generating a rhythm. You are saturating yourself with the feeling of the reality. As you perform this action, focus on the emotion. What is the dominant feeling? It should be a feeling of relief, the deep, satisfying exhale of thank God. It is done. You are no longer striving. You are no longer wanting. You have it. Feel the weight of the desire lifting off your shoulders. The battle is over. You have won. Allow a wave of gratitude to wash over you. Thankfulness is the ultimate state of receivership. When you say thank you, you are acknowledging that the gift has been received. If your mind wanders, and it will, do not be angry. Gently bring it back to the scene. Bring it back to the handshake. Bring it back to the key. You are disciplining your mind to obey your will. You are the master. Continue to loop the scene. Feel the reality of it growing. It is becoming more vivid than the room you are sitting in. The chair you are physically sitting on is fading away. The hand you are shaking in your imagination is becoming the only reality. You are now standing on the bridge. You are in the future, but to you, it is the present. You are occupying the end. You are breathing the air of your wish fulfilled. Stay here. Linger here. Drink it in. This is not a fantasy. This is the workshop of God. What you are doing right now is more real than the concrete of the building you live in, because this act is the cause that will produce the concrete. As you feel the naturalness of this state, as you feel it becoming a part of you, you are impregnating the universe with your intention. You are altering the structure of reality. You do not need to know how it will happen. You only need to know that it is done. Feel the thrill of accomplishment, not a frantic excitement, but a deep, grounded peace. The peace of possession. It is yours. No one can take it from you. Now, gradually, I want you to let the scene fade, but keep the feeling. Let the visual image dissolve, but hold on to the mood of satisfaction. You are going to return to the physical world, but you are coming back changed. You are not the same person who closed their eyes 10 minutes ago. You are now the person who has seen the end. You are the person who has touched the promise. If you are doing this at night, this is the perfect time to drift into sleep. Carry this mood of it is done with you into the unconscious. Let your last thought before you lose consciousness be a thought of gratitude and fulfillment. If you are doing this during the day, gently begin to move your fingers and toes. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes. Look around you. The world may look the same, but it is not. You have changed the cause, and the effect must follow. Do not look for signs immediately. Do not check your phone to see if the message arrived. Walk in the confidence that the seed has been planted. The bridge of incidents has begun to form. You have done the work. The creation is finished. You are now walking in the Sabbath of the mind, the state of rest that comes after the creative act. Walk with your head high. Walk with the dignity of a creator. You have lived in the end, and the end must now move to meet you. It is done. Welcome back from the silence. You have just performed the most significant act a human being can perform. You have planted a seed in the garden of God. You have moved from the world of shadows into the world of substance, and now you have returned to the surface. The question that now confronts you is how you will live in the time between this moment of planting and the moment of the harvest. This is the time of testing. This is where the true practitioner is separated from the mere dreamer. You have assumed the end, but the physical world has not yet caught up to your assumption. You look around and the room is the same. The bank balance is the same, and the problems seem to persist. Do not be deceived by this optical illusion. The creation is finished the moment you accept it in your imagination, but it takes time for the bridge of incidents to lower itself into this three-dimensional world. You must now walk in the conviction that the pregnancy has begun. Just as a mother does not check every hour to see if she is still pregnant, you must not check every hour to see if your desire has manifested. You must live in the quiet confidence of the inevitable. I must warn you against the greatest danger that awaits you when you turn off this video. That danger is the urge to dig up the seed. Every time you worry about the how, you are digging up the seed. Every time you look for a sign and feel disappointed that you do not see one, you are digging up the seed. Every time you ask someone if they think it is possible, you are digging up the seed. You must leave it alone. You must have the patience of the farmer who knows that the seed has its own appointed hour to ripen and flower. It will not be late. It will arrive on time. Your anxiety can only delay it. Your trust accelerates it. You must enter a psychological state that the mystics call the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not a day of the week. It is an attitude of mental rest. It is the state of mind that says it is done. So there is nothing left to fight for. When you are in the Sabbath, you are not lazy, but you are not anxious. You go about your daily work. You pay your bills. You wash your dishes, but you do it with a heart that is singing the song of fulfillment. You are acting in the world of Caesar, but you are anchored in the world of God. Remember that you are the operant power. This law will not work itself. You are the engine. The fuel is your feeling. If you stop feeling the wish fulfilled and return to the feeling of lack, the engine stops. You might say that it is hard to maintain the feeling when the world is screaming the opposite. I admit it is a challenge. That is why it is called the art of living in the end. It is an art form. It requires practice. When you fall out of the state, and you will, do not condemn yourself. Simply recognize that you have strayed and gently guide your imagination back to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is like training a puppy. You do not beat the puppy, you simply bring it back to the path. Do this 70 times, 7 times if necessary. Eventually, the new state will become your natural dwelling place. You will become so accustomed to success in your mind that failure will feel foreign to you. And when the internal state becomes natural, the external manifestation becomes a fact. There is a deeper purpose to this teaching than merely getting things. I want you to have the house, the money, the marriage, and the health. You should have them because you are God experiencing a human life, and God should not suffer lack. But do not think that the acquisition of these toys is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is the discovery of who you are. Every time you use this law to change your reality, you are proving to yourself that you are not a victim of circumstance. You are proving that you are a creator. You are awakening from the long sleep of the ages. You are realizing that the Jesus Christ of Scripture is not a man who lived 2,000 years ago, but the very power of imagination that is listening to this message right now. This realization is the pearl of great price. Once you have this, you have everything. You will no longer fear the future because you will know that you are the architect of the future. You will no longer fear death because you will know that you are the eternal life that animates the body. As you go forward from this moment, I ask you to keep a secret. Do not take this pearl and cast it before those who do not understand. Do not go out and tell your skeptical friends what you are doing. They will only laugh at you, and their doubt will become a heavy weight that drags you down. Secrecy is the reservoir of power. Keep your dream between you and your own deeper self. Nurture it in the darkness of your own consciousness. Let the results speak for themselves. When the harvest comes, when the bridge of incidents has been crossed and you hold the physical reality in your hands, then you can tell them. Then they will have to believe because they cannot deny the evidence. Until then, walk in the silence. Walk in the mystery. Be in the world but not of it. I also want to remind you of your responsibility to others. You now possess a key that can unlock prison doors. Do not use it only for your own comfort. Use it to lift the burdens of your brothers and sisters. If you hear bad news about a friend, do not accept it as final. Immediately revise it in your imagination. Hear the good news instead. Use your inner speech to bless and not to curse. The world is crying out for people who can hold the high watch. Be the one who sees the best in others, even when they cannot see it in themselves. By doing this, you are not only helping them, but you are also keeping your own creative machinery oiled and ready. You are exercising your godhood. We have covered a vast territory tonight. We have traveled from the misconception of a distant God to the realization of the God within. We have learned how to ignore the evidence of the senses and think from the end. We have walked a bridge of incidents. We have listened to the voices of the future, and we have touched the reality of the wish fulfilled. This video is not just information, it is an initiation. You are not the same person who pressed play an hour ago. You have been given the tools of a master builder. The question is, what will you build? Will you build a palace or a prison? The choice is entirely yours. The law is neutral. It will produce abundance or poverty with equal indifference, depending entirely on the pattern you provide. Provide a noble pattern. Dare to dream of a life that is worthy of the God within you. If this message has stirred something in your soul, if you feel the vibration of truth, then I invite you to remain connected to this source. This channel is dedicated to the awakening of humanity. We are building a community of conscious creators. By subscribing, you are not just supporting a channel. You are joining a legion of men and women who have decided to take back their power. I invite you to leave a comment below. Declare your intention. Write down, "It is done." By writing it, you are engaging a physical action that anchors your belief. Come back to this video when your faith wavers. Let it be the rock you stand on when the storms of doubt arise. Listen to the guided visualization again and again until the groove is cut deep into your mind. Repetition is the mother of learning. And in this case, it is the mother of manifestation. Do not let this inspiration fade with the setting sun. Take it into your sleep tonight. As you lay your head on the pillow, remember who you are. Remember that you are the king disguised as a beggar. Throw off the rags of limitation. Put on the royal robes of your imagination. Sleep in the assumption that you are who you want to be. And when you wake tomorrow, walk as that person. Talk as that person. Act as that person. And as sure as the sun rises, your world will reshape itself to match your assumption. You are the dreamer, and you are the dream. You are the creator and the creation. Go now, and let your life be the evidence of the truth. The promise is true. The law is real. The power is yours. It is finished. If this message has awakened the sleeping giant within you, do not let the connection fade. Subscribe to this channel to keep your flame alive. Share this video with a friend who needs to hear this truth for in lifting others. You lift yourself. And finally, I want you to verify your belief. Go to the comments section below and write a single, powerful phrase, "I live in the end." Let that be your seal of acceptance. Thank you for watching, and welcome to your new reality.